This is my proposition. My proposition is there is something deep within the human being which comes out, and it comes out through experiences, it comes out sometimes through spiritual experiences, sometimes through conversation, and sometimes through pure logic. And this innate thing is what leads us to God. That's my proposition. And I'll give you a little bit of evidence for that. The Soviet Union, if you look back at history, you can assume them to be a massive social experiment in which they tried to indoctrinate generations of people into believing in Marxism, Darwinism, humanism and whatnot. And they taught them there's no God, when you die become worm food or whatnot. Yet when the Berlin Wall collapsed in 1989, majority of people, they went back to the belief in God, right? And even the atheistic society that they still had many aspects of religion, such as devotion. They had Lenin, they had Stalin, and they made up stories about their supernatural powers. When Stalin was born, then something happened. Right? So I believe there's something internal which drives us. And that internal thing that drives us is the same thing which tells us there is such a thing as right and wrong. Now you and me may have different moralities, right? I may believe in X, you may believe in Y, but we both believe there is something which is good, which is right. And that's what I believe. I believe God is the same thing.
And I understand that deeply. I think the notion of analyticism, or being analytic, and analytical thinking is very true, because you can just draw the distinction between analytic and synthetic forms of knowledge, where you're right, rational conclusions that we draw from philosophical or logical syllogisms are all analytically proved within themselves.
Yeah.
We can come up with a formulation, we logically prove it to ourselves. Now, that requires not necessarily external knowledge, that requires just an understanding of reason. But reason does not give us this so-called synthetic knowledge, which I think that synthetic knowledge adds to our own personal experiences and our own rationality. That synthetic knowledge comes from a structural understanding of what underpins our entire existence. So Kant put it very well where he said space and time were the two notions of synthetic knowledge, because they underpin everything. You cannot have a thought in anything you have without it occurring in a temporal period, without having a beginning, a middle, and an end. You cannot either have a thought, if I ask you to think of a chair, a god, a physical representation of any idea, it has to exist in space. So everything we have is underpinned by the spatio-temporal relationship.
For any concepts, we need that.
You need that, exactly.
But if you think about that, you can never justify that. You can never, like, if I was to ask, how do we know that that's not just a construct of our minds? That's spatial temporal boundaries, right?
Because I guess that in many ways, in order to be constructed within the mind, it has to underpin every thought process.
No, of course. No, I'm not challenging it. I'm just saying, if somebody was to go down a pure reason route and say, I believe in the tabula rasa, I'm going to challenge everything. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be stuck in quicksand.
Completely.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is that synthetic forms of knowledge, whilst you can attribute them to space and time, but also attribute them, I think, to a religion. And I think that religion comes along and it's structurally underpinning it. It's at which point we become aware of it, that we can't rationally think through it like an analytic forms of thought.
Sure.
We have to become aware of it, which almost elevate us up. And Kant had this beautiful term, which I'll leave on, which is transcendental idealism. Transcendental because we transcend above our normal relations. And idealism because the thoughts that space and time offer, that they transcend above everything else. They are the required structures for us to even exist. We cannot believe any world, any existence without existing in space, without existing in time. And I think in many ways religion has a similar effect. And it's whether or not when we become aware of it, I think it's important. And some people never.
And I think one of the things which is, I think, downtrodden, but it's very powerful when it comes to the belief in God, is personal subjective experiences. Because these personal subjective experiences, for example, I had my own personal experience where, and this is not something which made me believe in God. I believed in God before this. Was where I saw a dream of my sister holding a baby in her hand, and I rang her up, and she'd been married for years, and she's had kids before, and she was holding a baby girl, and the baby girl had certain features, and I said to her, "Are you expecting?" She said, "No, I'm not expecting." And she WhatsApped me 2 weeks later and said, "Actually, I am." Right? And when that baby was born, it looked exactly like I saw it in the dream, and I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it in the day, and I hardly dreamed. Now something like that, anybody, if you try and explain it to a speaker's corner or wherever, they'll be like, that's gibberish, that's not evidence for me.
Sure.
But what's important, and the lesson which I try and share, is that I already had a belief in God and I was looking for science. And when you start on that premise, which is sometimes very difficult to accept, Alex, unless we both agree, like we did, that reason can't really lead you, pure reason can't really lead you anywhere in objectivity, right? When you start from that spiritual perspective, then reason kicks in, and that's where you can start using things like to discuss like the design argument, the argument from consciousness, the argument from causality. So what are your thoughts about those arguments for God?
It's a strong, large argument. I'll tell you what, my friends are waiting for me. We'll continue this another time.
No problem at all.
It's been a pleasure.
Can I give you a gift?
Please.
So I couldn't hear you properly because of the loud noise. This is short booklet.
Okay.
It's got verses of the Quran which speak about spirituality.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's something, like I said, just look for that spiritual experience.
Please, I'll come back next week as well. If you're here next week,
I'm here every week.
I'll chat to you again. I look forward
Thank
to
you very much.
it.